welcome to another episode of the Anti-Pharmacist Podcast. It's another TGIF episode, and I know that everybody is already in the Christmas period and all of that. So, I want to say Merry Christmas in advance. I'll keep saying this till the last episode of this month. Welcome once again. I'm glad, and so glad to have you. I hope you've had a nice week so far. Like I said, Christmas is in the air, so it's like everybody is in this cheerful mood, irrespective of whatever is happening with the economy or generally. And it's a good thing because it's good to stay positive, to stay happy. That's one thing I love about Christmas. The period, everybody's just in a good mood. We are cheerful. It's a period, to share love, to share positivity, to share happiness, to be joyful. So I'm happy as well. Thank God that we are seeing the last month of the year, right? So today, what I'll be talking about is carcinogens. Yes, carcinogens. I'm sure that a lot of people have heard this word flying around. Carcinogens. Some people might be wondering, what is this carcinogens that people are talking about? I'm sure every once in a while you hear that, this thing has been banned, that one has been banned, and you'll be wondering why, for what reason? Well, that thing is most likely a carcinogen, and I'll explain, okay? So without further ado, let's get right into it. What is the origin of the word carcinogens? Okay, let me get it out from the explanation of cancers, okay? We all know that cancer is like the bane of the existence of the 21st century. It is that disease that everybody is so scared of. Scientists are trying their best to conquer, to find a cure to, and it's been like elusive. I mentioned it in one of my last few episodes that cancer is the 21st century hydra. It's that snake in Greek mythology that has several heads that as you cut one, another one grows back. Yes, there are so many cancers in the world right now that people have even lost count. Cancer of every organ in the body. Every cell has a potential to become cancerous. I can liken cancer now to, those diseases of then that were not curable. I was watching a period piece recently, and a child had typhoid fever. And the parents were influential. They were kings, the most influential and rich people of that society, of that realm then, and they could do nothing for the child. The child passed away, unfortunately. But now, typhoid fever is something we just, treat with antibiotics, and you're done in 5 to 7 days. It's bye-bye. But then it was a death sentence. So many diseases back then that people did not know what to do with, no cure for them, and people just died of them. Now when you hear it, it's like it's ridiculous. How can people die of typhoid fever? How can people die of syphilis? You'll be even hearing some great men that died of gonorrhea. You'll be like, it's gonorrhea that killed this person. Gonorrhea that me I've treated like 5 or 10 times. Well, thank God for science, thank God for technology, thank God for the relentless effort of scientists to discover new cures every day. And I'm hoping that one day, soon, in the nearest future, cancer will be like that too. That it will not be a death sentence anymore. It will not be something that people fear anymore. It will be something that has a cure, whatever type of cancer it is. Yes. So these carcinogenic substances, they are substances that have the probability of causing cancer. They have the potential of making cells in the body cancerous. That's the simple definition of carcinogen. And these carcinogens can be biological, they can be physical substances, they can be chemical substances. They are everywhere in the environment. So the aim of my podcast today is to let you know some of the substances, because it can be exhaustive, is to let you be aware that there are substances that if you are not careful, if you're exposed to them, if you consume them, it can increase your risk of getting cancers. Because some people will just come and say, what did I do? I don't smoke, I don't drink, and now they said I have this kind of cancer. I've lived my life well. What if you were exposed to carcinogens without your knowledge? right? These things increase the risk. And as we all know, in this day and age, it is better to prevent cancer than to have it open to go into remission or get a cure for it. You understand? Of course, like I said, scientists are still working relentlessly, but there are too many types of cancers. And cancer is just like a stubborn child that has refused to listen to instruction. They are rogue cells, and once they start growing, they can enter any other cell, they can invade cells, go to places where they are not needed, even overpower the normal cells. They don't listen to instructions. So is it not better to just avoid the growth of these cells in the first place? That is why you must pay attention to carcinogens in your environment. So a carcinogen does not have to be maybe the food you take or any substance. It could be a living organism that is in your environment. You understand? And there are viruses that are carcinogens, there are bacteria that are carcinogens. And of course, you may have little control over the presence of these organisms in your environment, or you can actually control your exposure to them if you're careful enough. So, as I mentioned earlier, there are 3 major types of carcinogens according to research, okay? There are chemical carcinogens, physical or environmental carcinogens, and there are oncogenic viruses, or let's just say carcinogenic organisms, okay? Because not only viruses are carcinogenic now. A recent list of carcinogens has been released, and it has Helicobacter pylori in it. You know what that is? That's the bacteria in the stomach that is responsible for ulcer. It is also a carcinogen now, so it could cause stomach cancer. And 99% of people have this bacteria in their stomach. It's a normal gut flora. So like I said, you may not be able to control its presence in your environment, but you should be able to control how it affects you. Okay, so back to chemical carcinogens. There are carcinogens that people release into the environment through pollution, okay, like exhaust fumes of the cars, industry byproducts, gas flaring, cigarette smoke. That's chemical carcinogens. For physical or environmental carcinogens, they come from the environment, like your UV rays from sunlight, radiation from X-ray, or other radioactive materials. Those are physical carcinogens. I think I've explained biological carcinogens, right? There are viruses that can cause cancers too, like the human papilloma virus that causes cervical cancer. There's Epstein-Barr, and there's hepatitis B as well. I have mentioned H. pylori, which is a bacteria. Those are carcinogenic microorganisms. Now you may wonder that who even determines what is carcinogenic or not? How do they do it? As I have hinted earlier, it is through research, through reports, through publications by various researchers, okay? Maybe somebody came down with something, they traced the exposure and found out that, they consumed more of this that period. They could flag that as a carcinogenic substance, followed up by research and to confirm it, okay? So the agency that determines what is carcinogenic or not, after evaluating various reports and research, is known as the International Agency for Research on Cancer. That's IARC. And from time to time, they release lists of carcinogenic substances that have been discovered. So in your best interest, you could keep abreast of news from this organization. Till date, there are about 120 carcinogens already listed, and more will be listed in future. I just mentioned that H. pylori has been listed recently. Some antiseptic products also have been listed recently. Remember the insecticide DDT? Yes, it was discovered to be carcinogenic, and that was why it was taken off the market. It was banned in many countries from being used as an insecticide, because it is a chemical carcinogen. Because you release it into the environment, people can inhale it. So also some pesticides have been banned because of their potential to cause cancer. Some phosphide containing pesticides have been banned, the likes of aluminum phosphide, anti-snake pesticide, because they have potential to cause cancer. So that when they ban these things, you are not just wondering that are they just banning things for fun? No, is because they have high potential to cause cancer, or they have caused it in some people. Alright, now let me give common examples of carcinogens that are in our environment so as to know how to avoid them. Number one is alcohol. Yes, alcoholic beverages are carcinogens. They are known carcinogens, okay? They can cause multiple cancers, including oral cancer, colon cancer, liver cancer, and many more. When we tell you to avoid alcohol, you think we want to kill your shine. We don't want you to enjoy life. It's because these things have been known to cause cancers, okay? Asbestos is a known carcinogen. It has been flagged by IARC since because it causes mesothelioma, a type of aggressive cancer which affects the lining of internal organs like your lungs, your heart, your colon. So asbestos causes stomach cancer, colon cancer, lung cancer, ovarian cancer. Okay, it is a known carcinogen. So when we are saying don't use asbestos, to roof houses anymore, you think, it's because of trends. It's not all that. It's not because of trends. It's because it has been known to cause cancer. Another one is engine exhaust. Diesel exhaust particulates are known carcinogens, okay? It causes bladder cancer in animals. And of course, you know that human beings' organs can be extrapolated from those of animals. I don't know if you understand me. So it is something that can happen. If it doesn't happen now, it can happen in the future. Why not be extra careful and avoid exposure to these things? Formaldehyde, what they call formalin for preserving of dead bodies, causes different types of leukemia according to IARC. You have to be careful and reduce exposure to it, especially morticians, those that work in mortuary. You know how to protect yourself from these things, right? So please use personal protective equipment if you must deal with this chemical at all. Processed meats, another carcinogen. It increases the risk of cancer of the rectum, of the colon, and it even causes stomach cancer if care is not taken. And processed meats are manufactured by preserving them through processes like smoking, curing, or even adding chemical preservatives. All those canned meats, your corned beef, your sausages, your bacon, your beef jerkies, they are all processed meats. You have to be careful in their consumption. You see now that they are majorly substances that you're exposed to in the environment through inhalation, through contact, or through ingestion, taking them in by eating. Okay, radioactive substances I've mentioned, they are physical carcinogens because they have the ability to penetrate your cells. So pharmacists like myself that work with radioactive substances or scientists, you have to be very careful. Like I said, your work may expose you to them, but they are personal protective equipment, and there are limited number of exposures that should happen per person per time. So please be careful. Note all these things. All tobacco products, they are carcinogens. They have been classified by both National Toxicology Program of the US and the IARC. So they cause many types of cancer like oral cancer, throat cancer, colon cancer, liver, bile duct cancer, pancreatic cancer, even nasal cancer. That's tobacco for you. I've mentioned it on this podcast several times why you should stop smoking. So please do yourself a favor and stop, because you're exposing yourself, and not just yourself. Remember that there are secondary smokers, people that are exposed to your cigarette smoke. You could give another person nasal cancer without them even ever knowing what cigarettes tastes like. So please just avoid it. UV rays from the sun, this one we can't control very much, of course, but you can reduce your exposure to it, right? The environment itself is already undergoing several changes because of the way we use it. I've talked about One Health, these exhaust fumes, this flaring of gases, deforestation, improper waste disposal, everything impacts the environment at the end of the day. Ozone layer has been depleting for decades now. So the UV rays intensity is higher, and now the risk of causing skin cancer, eye cancer is higher. Those are the things that we can experience from being exposed to UV rays from the sun. So how can you protect yourself from this? Using sun protection factors, which we call sunscreen. You have to be careful. Use them, the original ones, so not ones that come and give you cancer too. Wear protective clothing. Do not expose your body unnecessarily. Now, other types of carcinogens are arsenic, chloroform, coal dust and emissions, estrogen, progesterone, combined oral contraceptives, estrogen therapy for menopause, hepatitis B virus, hepatitis C virus, HIV type 1, mineral oils, nickel, outdoor air pollution, red meat consumption, X-ray and gamma rays. All of these I've mentioned one way or the other. So as much as possible, limit your exposure to them. I know some of you are already scared. You heard about contraceptives from them, you heard of estrogen therapy amongst the list. What if I need these things? That's why your healthcare providers are there for you. With where risk benefit ratio. I've always said that on this podcast. And if there are other substances that you could use in replacement of this, of course they'll be given to you. But this list I just mentioned, some are known, some are probable. But your exposure to them is what really matters, okay? How frequently you're exposed to them and for how long. I know some questions may be running through your mind. Like, you talk about immunity a lot. Can't the body just get rid of this cancerous cells? I thought you said our bodies protect us. Of course, our bodies have natural detoxification system that helps to detoxify our bodies. The systems are many, right? The lungs, your skin, your digestive system, your liver, your kidney, I've mentioned them. But this can only work if the body is at optimal, if you feed it right, okay, if you avoid dietary carcinogens, if you avoid sun damage, if you stay active using exercise. I've mentioned diet and exercise a lot on this podcast. If you've been following, if you do all this, your body can help you. We have B cells and T cells as part of our immune systems in the body to help us fight infections and even to help us kill cancer cells, okay? But like I told you, the body has to be at optimal. If not, these cells will not be able to fight these cancerous cells, and these cancerous cells will overpower them, okay? Some people might also ask that, do cell phones cause cancer? Because we have heard that cell phones emit radiation, and now that you said radiation, X-ray, gamma rays, they cause cancers. Well, research hasn't shown that cell phone cause any type of cancer, but in your own best interest, avoid exposure of your phone to your vital organs. When your phone is hot, it's not reasonable to put it near your groin, to put it near your breast, okay, to let it have any contact with your skin, because even that your phone casing was made with a chemical, right? And the more it drops on your skin, the more contact your skin has with it, it can absorb all these things, okay? So minimize your exposure to these things. Either you're sure it is cancerous or not. Moderation is key in everything. All right. How do carcinogens cause cancer? You may wonder. It is not by magic, okay? It's by various processes, little processes that accumulate over time and have a ripple effect. Once carcinogens get in contact with your body or enter into your body, or they interact with your DNA is in your genes, okay? And these genes are the ones that contain instructions for making proteins. Proteins control millions of actions in your body, how your cells grow and multiply, how your body functions, okay? Now, when this carcinogen changes your DNA, it triggers a chain reaction that turns normal cells into cancerous cells. That is what we call mutation, okay? Now, these carcinogens sometimes do direct damage to your DNA. The DNA stops working, does not code for the protein it's supposed to make, then body function is affected. Some other times, the cell that typically repair damaged DNA, because the body always has a compensatory mechanism. There are cells that repair damages in the body, like your handyman in your body. If the carcinogen affects it, it cannot repair the damaged DNA. Now, the repairer is damaged, even the DNA itself is damaged. There are mutations, multiple mutations in this gene. Depending on the specific mutation or change, your gene now starts giving cells instructions to multiply uncontrollably. They become cancerous tumors. Like I said, cancers do not develop right away. Carcinogens build up over time. So your extent of exposure and the duration of exposure matters, okay? It may take years before a carcinogen begins that chain reaction that leads to cancer in the body. And we know that these substances we talk about, this asbestos, these exhaust fumes, these smokes, these chemicals, they are things that we're exposed to every day. These UV rays, we're exposed to them every day. in little quantities, sometimes in very high quantity in a short time. This could lead to gene mutations leading to cancers, and that is how cancer develops from carcinogens. Okay, so it's not magic. Of course, I've talked about how you can reduce your exposure to carcinogens, not smoking, avoiding alcohol containing beverages, protecting your skin from sun exposure and other sources of UV rays. Okay, avoiding anywhere where carcinogens are present, or if you can't avoid, limit your exposure by wearing personal protective equipment, and most importantly, get vaccinated, especially against all these viruses that cause cancers. Okay, the HPV vaccine is available. Get vaccinated against hepatitis B virus. Okay, avoid things that can expose you to HIV infection, and that way you can avoid your exposure to those biological carcinogens. Like I said, the substances I've mentioned on this episode are not exhaustive. Educate yourself by going to the International Agency for Research on Cancer website to look at carcinogen classifications. Okay, but let me just close with this categorization of carcinogens by this same agency. Okay, since 1979, IARC has reviewed hundreds of products, chemical compounds, lifestyle, viruses, workplaces, other agents for their carcinogenic potential, and they have classified these substances into 4 major categories. Okay, categories 1 to 4. Category 2 has 2 subcategories. Okay, so category 1, they are known to be carcinogenic to humans. That's the sunlight, the sawdust, tobacco, processed meat, alcoholic beverages. They are known carcinogens already. Okay, category 2A, they are probable carcinogens to humans because of the substances in them. They have high risk of causing mutations in gene. Examples are cyclophosphate, red meat, high temperature frying, night shift work leading to release of some stressor hormones, working as a barber or hairdresser because of exposure to some kind of chemicals. Okay, these are under category 2A. Like I said, for category 2B, these are possibly carcinogenic to humans. The likes of aloe vera, carpentry, because due to exposure to sawdust again, talc-based body powder, pickled vegetables like your kimchi in Korea and other traditional Asia and fermented vegetables. Okay, coffee, these are category 2B, which are possibly carcinogenic to humans. Now, category 3, they are not classifiable as to carcinogenicity in humans, but they are substances or things to watch out for, like hair coloring products like your dyes, caffeine and tea, insulation glass wool, fluorescent lighting, magnetic fields. Okay, those are to be watched even though they're in category 3. And the last category is category 4. They are probably not carcinogenic to humans, but they are not classified as non-carcinogenic. They are still on the watch list. Let's put it that way. It's caprolactam. It's a synthetic substance used in textile industries, just like a variant of nylon. They have reviewed different substances, but they have found that this one may have a potential to cause cancer. So those are the categories of carcinogenic substances or substances that have potential to be carcinogenic to humans, as released by International Agency for Research on Cancer. That's IARC. That's their classification. Okay? And that's how I end today's podcast. I hope that you have learned something. You are more aware of carcinogens in your environment, and you're already planning on ways to limit your exposure or avoid them altogether, so that, by God's grace, we don't have any issue with cancer now or in the nearest future. Yes. So, guys, I will say it right. I really appreciate you for your help thus far for this podcast. But please continue to share, to like, to subscribe, to follow the podcast. Support me on all socials, okay? From Facebook and Francis Podcast, to LinkedIn, Bimsola Davis Jose, to Instagram at Francis Podcast, to X Fan Podcaster, all over the socials. Please comment, like, subscribe, share the podcast. God bless you as you do so. And like I said, the podcast is still growing, okay? We're already on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Amazon Music, on Castbox, YouTube Music. It was supposed to be a walk in the park, but I'm experiencing some glitches. But I promise you, very soon it will be a mainstay on YouTube Music, okay? Just please listen to the podcast. Support your girl all the way, okay? Because Anti-Pharmacist Podcast is on its way to being the number one podcast worldwide. And I need your support for this. Thank you so much, so much for listening up to this point. I have a lot of interesting episodes lined up for you for the new year. I'm already preparing towards that, okay? Because of course we're rounding up for the year already. But I still have some interesting episodes before the year runs out. And I need you to listen to those, okay? And encourage me by doing all of those things I mentioned earlier. Thank you once again. I wish you a wonderful weekend and a nice Christmas preparation gearing towards the celebration. Till next time, stay healthy and God bless you.